Benfica Podcast is one of the founding members of Benfica Independent. Benfica Independent is an independent platform made by fans for fans. And in it, you can find our podcast, along with many other podcasts, along with articles of opinion, video segments, and much, much more. We're also on patreon.com/Benfica Independent with exclusive contents for our patrons.
Hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo. Sí, es un club que tiene una grandeza que no se comprende si no estás aquí dentro.
Usando uma magia única, benfiquista, que só nós sentimos assim. Por muitos desgostos que possamos ter, valores mais altos se levantam. E o valor mais alto que se levanta em termos futebolísticos chama-se Benfica.
Quero o Benfica intimidar o adversário. Quero um manto sagrado entrar com vocês em qualquer estádio e assustá-los, pá! É isso que eu quero!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Doll Benfica Podcast. My name is Alfredo Famalicao, coming to you live every week to talk Benfica. With me, as always, Cristiano Oliveira. Cristiano, como é que é, amigo? Tudo bem?
Dino, how are you, my friend? Every week we start this beautiful podcast. Feel the need, sometimes, to correct you. You said, welcome to another Benfica podcast every week. We're not every week.
It's almost every
Don't
week, except
mislead
International
people.
Week.
Okay, now we're good. Don't mislead the people.
Sorry, I had to do that correction. With us always, also the other Oliveira with the DE in front of Oliveira. What's happening, Dave?
What's going on, Alfredo and Cristiano? Good to be back after the week off. Hope you guys enjoyed it,
It was
along
wonderful.
with the Freddies. Hope they enjoyed the time away from us, and some of them already are active in the chat. So good to have the Freddies back with us.
Sir,
well from
Freddy's,
Benfica
press
United.
the like button. Let's
Yeah,
go.
that's right.
Smash the like button.
So-
Dave, the only thing sadder than not having Benfica football for a few weeks is having to come do the podcast today. That's the only thing sadder. I was kind of hoping this holiday would be extended because I'm in no mood to talk about so stupid. Yeah. What, it was Taça Portugal, right?
Yeah.
Or was it Taça?
A win's a win, Chris.
I mean, shit. Nowadays, you take them how you could get them. I hear you. You know,
A win
I'm
is a
with
win. Let's say hello to the Freddies, Diogo Reis, Tony Fig, Manny Valadão, Abola Caderns, Nuno M, Fabs 8000, and Jason Gaidola are the ones.
I got a question for Bola de Cadernos, bro.
Go ahead.
He says Alfredo, Cristiano, Dave, Henry, Carragher, Mika Richards, Benfica Podcast. Oh, okay. So he says Alfredo, Cristiano, Dave, I guess we're better than Carragher, Henry, and
Epa.
Mika. And then he says Benfica Podcast better than CBS Champions League. I mean, Abola, we don't agree on much, but no, I'm joking. But we agree on this. The question I was going to pose is, out of the three, which one am I, Abola Cadernos?
Unless he
But no, fat guy.
he didn't do respectively, So Henry, Carragher, Mika Richards. I'm the host, so the host is
So you're
that young woman,
what's
right?
her name? Kate Abadu. Abadu. Right, that's her name. I know it's Kate something. Kate Abadu, I think.
I don't know. I don't. It's not the show that I watch. Diogo Reis says, "Who's this negative Nancy dressed as Dave's cousin, Chris?" I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
I know. Who's this negative Nancy dressed as Dave? I don't know. Who is it?
I don't know. I'm lost.
Dave's cousin.
Chico,
Eu
Mar-
tô perdido.
You know, you're my cousin. You're always my prime.
Chico
I know, but-
Marcelino is here also. Now that Chico Marcelino is here, we could start. We're always waiting on Chico Marcelino. Grande Chico. Chico, ainda estou para saber o que é que tu fazes, pá. That you're up at this time of the day or the night for you, I should say.
He's a podcast connoisseur.
He's a podcast archiver?
Yeah, he listens to see if any
Oh, okay.
does the rounds. He makes the rounds. He listens to every Benfica podcast I think out there. Anybody does a podcast out of a closet, Chico is listening. He's
maybe he has like a night shift at the morgue or something. I don't know. They always make up these lives for these people that I have no idea. Just guessing.
He's a graphic designer. Look at that.
He's a graphic designer? Okay. Tá explicado então. I live in Porto, which is 3 hours less than Lisbon, so we're good.
I got a question for Chico before we get started. Are you on Chico Scupa Las Stars? I'm sorry. Are you on social media, Twitter or whatever? Or
I
X,
think he is.
I
think I've seen Chico on X or Twex.
Oh, Del Tasca says maybe he works at night like me.
Yeah, Del Tasca, what do you do, man? You work at night.
He works at night.
He works at night, but what does he do? Does he walk the streets or?
I tell you, man, these Freddies, man. Thank you guys. I mean, the dedication.
Is he a DJ or?
Us. It's fantastic to have these guys on here talking to us. Look, some of these guys are working. I know. Shit. Let's talk about what matters.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that I always try to do a little.
Look bad. Night shift gang.
Night shift gang, 2:42 a.m. Yeah, no. Look, we appreciate your dedication to make time, especially this late at night, to put us on, to keep you company, regardless of what you're doing. Crochet, renda, graphic arts. It's nice that you put us on. We keep you company, and you guys go about your business while you're listening to our silliness.
It's not a hard measure. Not much to compete with at this time at night. Not my nada. You know what I mean? Like, so let's listen to these bozos. Not my nada fazer.
Chico Marcelino says he's a DJ also. Actually, Chico, do you do sets on Twitch? There's a lot of DJs doing sets on Twitch. Everybody's a freaking DJ now. Holy cow.
Ainda bem, bro. Tem que fazer uma mescla aqui do podcast.
Yeah. With DJ Natural Fire, which is I'm assuming he's a DJ also.
Aqui é só DJs.
Falta so DJs, man. That's why they're up at night.
Dia que me casar.
They're working on those mixes.
Dia que me casar já sei que temos aqui DJs, temos aqui preferência. We call them all. They all do. O que é que tu disseste isto agora do lado do what'd you say? The mix? What'd you just call it?
Which?
Do you
do sets? They do sets on Twitch?
That's what I'm saying. Se dia me casar, vou convidá-los todos. They all gonna do a set.
They do a set, like 30 minutes each.
Epa, Portuguese weddings e nós pimba.
Yeah. Del Tasca says he works at Ping Dos, night shift. That works too, man. Yeah, there's guys. Yeah, there's guys that just put us on, and we keep them company while they have to work for a living, which is a shame. Most of us do. Anyway, let's get on with this podcast. I always like to talk a little nonsense for the first 5-10 minutes of the podcast. Let everybody come in. Let everybody get warmed up. Let everybody say hello so we could see everyone that's on the chat. But tonight, episode 507, we got the Famalicao recap. Taça de Portugal. Benfica was back in action after the international break. We'll also look ahead and maybe just a little peekaboo ahead to Inter. I'll find out what everybody's expectations are for the game, and we'll look also ahead to this weekend's game against Moreirense, a team that has been doing pretty well after being promoted to the first league last year. So let's get into this Famalicao game, Taça de Portugal game at Estádio Luz, crowd of 52,000. Trubin was in goal, Auschnes, Silva, Otamendi, Morato, Tino, Neves, Di Maria, Rafa, João Mário, Tengsted. This repeat of the same 11 with the exception of Tengsted. Was it a reward for Tengsted, you think? Or do you think that at this point Roger Schmidt wants to maybe ride some of the motivation that Tengsted has?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a combination of a few things. One, it's as you mentioned, he's rewarding him for his hard work in the previous game. That never say die attitude and always trying to give it his all. I think that's the least we could ask from our strikers. The other thing is, as we talked in the chat today with Steve, I mean, He's looking for anything with a heart pulse to give this team any type of life. It's not like
lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. And like I told Steve in the chat, any little thing, any little positive thing done for many of the three, and that means Cabral, Musa, and Tankstad, it's gonna stand out like a sore thumb because it's not that hard to do anything that's impressive nowadays compared to what everyone else is doing. So I think Raj is just trying to find his core 11, and I think he's found it. With the exception of now when Koksu comes back, he's gonna have to make some decisions. But I think he's found his 11. Obviously, he's sticking with Morato at left back. The whole right back situation is still a work in progress, but when Spa comes back, I think he's going to get inserted into the right back, or Arsenal is just going to stay there. We'll see what happens. But the one negative, the one, what can I say? The one question mark that Roger Schmidt, and I think every Benfica fan around the world has at this moment is, who in the world is going to grab this opportunity and run with it? And I think Tankstad right now, it's his turn.
Yeah.
But as I spoke to you earlier and spoke to the guys earlier, I think we've seen a lot of these articles now that you're seeing written about Tankstad and movement without the ball and getting in behind defenders and creating space. And I'm pretty sure the Freddies who are listening to us, and once again, thank you guys for listening to us. They'll recall I mentioned the same thing a month and a half ago about a same article about Musa, who made the runs behind the defender and he pressed and so now it's just like they're just regurgitating the same story, just changing the name, and now it's Tankstad's. Yeah, it's Tankstad's name, with the exception of Musa. So look, I just hope that whomever gets that opportunity, man, takes advantage of it, presses, because we see that the first line of press is nowhere to be seen compared to last season. So if they're at least doing that and helping the team out in that sense, I think they're going to get more opportunities than the other guy. But we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, man, I want a striker.
Yeah. Chris, let me ask you this.
In the back of the net. But hey, so as I talk about it.
Vala.
I want a striker to put the ball in the back of the net. I could care less about everything else. That's why we paid 25 million for Cabral, is to put the ball in the back of the net. I could care less about everything else. So until these guys start doing that, man, it's not going to be easy.
If you're a betting man, Chris, do you think Benfica goes and grabs a striker as part of some of the players they're going to be picking up in the winter transfer window?
We've had this conversation.
Have we?
I called you and Dave crazy. Yeah, in the last podcast, I apologized to you and Dave. You recall, Dave?
You apologize, but I'm not really sure what he apologized for, Dave.
You apologize, but that wasn't for the striker.
No, it wasn't.
It was for the Boavista player.
Yes, but it was due to the player acquisition. Benfica reinforcing themselves, so it goes hand in hand. I still believe that the whole decision will be made based on on what Benfica does here with the next two games in the Champions League. Are they going to do the bare minimum and stay alive in the Europa League? Or are they going to bow out of the Europa League, which then I don't believe they're going to get in.
Do you think Roger?
The Europa League, I think there's a possibility. There's a possibility that they do go out and get somebody else. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know, man. Alfredo, I'm so confused. I'm being serious. We barely talk about this off air. A lot of times I call you to vent my frustrations. I haven't done so lately, but I'm really confused. How to go about how to read this team right now, because I told you here from last season, towards the end of last season to this off season to the beginning of the season, and Dave, you'll recall this. I made the point many times that Benfica's never been this healthy financially wise in our lifetime, and all of a sudden, you've seen them having to force the sell of Gonçalo Ramos and this and that. It's just, I don't know where this team stands, Alfredo. Do I think Benfica needs to go out and reinforce and bring themselves? If none of these three guys, I mean, they got a month left, right? If none of these three guys grab the opportunity by the horns, like I said before, I mean, I would go out and get somebody, but do they have the money? Especially considering the fact that they're not going to get that injection of money from the Champions League football. So again, I don't know how to read this, man. I'm being honest. I'm completely fooled, lost. I don't know how to read this.
Yeah, a bola caderno says Enrique Araújo is much better than Cabral. We were just commenting that today on a chat, and how I was saying it's a shame that Enrique Araújo hasn't developed in the same manner that we thought that he would develop, because we thought that out of a few strikers coming out of the Seychelles, or players coming out of the Seychelles, he looked the guy with most potential, but he never really caught fire, or even catch a spark to be even
Catching
considered.
fire now, Famalicao, Alfredo. He's not catching fire there now.
Yeah,
Neither.
but I mean, it's different, right? Because there's teams that have a different style of play, that they may focus more on defending and being compact, and a certain style of possession, and sometimes it doesn't suit the players as it should.
Well,
I don't know. I haven't watched some Famalicao all that much, so I really don't know. But I'm thinking, and Dave, you could look this up while we talk about it. But I don't think Enrique Araújo has scored many goals for Famalicao. Probably not. I just went while Dave looks.
They're not even from Famalicao. It was for the national team. That's the only two goals. he
Right, so
scored
he
all
hasn't
season.
even
He's
scored.
having a hard time beating out a Benfica reject for playing minutes up top, which is the kid that Benfica bought for $3 million from Vitória Setúbal.
John
playing
Der.
MLS now.
John Der Cadiz.
Wander, whatever.
Yeah. I don't know, man. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm with you, Chris. I think it's these next weeks, and how Europe develops is gonna say a lot about how Benfica is going to approach the market in the winter.
Now let me ask you a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Right? I'm gonna pose the question for you and Dave, because you guys like asking me questions.
Sure.
Let's assume that Benfica does miraculously stay alive and progress into the, I don't want to call it, but whatever. They bow out of Champions League, and they fall down to the Europa League, right? Do you think they go get a striker? Let's assume they progress. They've made it to the Europa League. What do you guys say?
I say
Dave.
no, because there's bigger holes in this team that need to be taken care of before the striker position. Right now we've got strikers, they just don't know, they're not playing at their top capabilities right now. But if you look at our defense, we've got holes on the left, we've got holes on the right that need to be taken care of. So I would take care of those, and I would also look at bringing in another winger to play with no wings. And I don't know if that's just Roger style, where he wants to send everything through the middle, but we have no wingers either. So if we're short on cash and we can only make one or two transfers, I'm not spending it on a striker. We need to fix our fullbacks first.
Yeah. I think there's definitely other priorities, and I think that if we don't go to Europe, Roger Schmidt may very well say to Rui Costa, I'm good where we're at right now in terms of the options that we have. But it's like the fact that Di Maria is our best scorer, and granted, Di Maria does score goals, right? But our best scorer should always be one of the forwards. But the fact that they haven't played consistently kind of takes that away.
I wouldn't have a problem with Di Maria being our leading goal scorer if he's 23. The fact that he's 36, that's scary. That's my problem with Di Maria.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Just a couple more things before we get into the game. Guedes was not on the bench after the press actually the flash interview, because there was no press conference again, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I'll give some context to the folks. But Roger Schmidt did say to Sport TV flash interview, which is that interview they do immediately after the game, that Guedes had picked up a knock in training, wasn't feeling well, so he didn't make the roster, but he felt that there was nothing of alarming, that he should be back this week and ready for action. I don't know if for Inter, but maybe perhaps Moreirense. Getting into the game, I thought that it was good from Roger Schmidt, the team that he lined up, right? For one, we're coming off of international break, so the customary we're going to rotate the squad and give guys some rest, I don't think it would apply here. for one, you kind of want to get guys back on the field, getting back into the rhythm, and the second one is the fact that you knew that Famalicao was going to be a tough game because Famalicao has been doing well this season. An entertaining half, I thought, back and forth. And when you have a Taça de Portugal game, it kind of changes the context, right? Because now teams are not coming to Estádio da Luz hoping that they could get that point, which is great in their run, right? Because their campeonato or their league is not against Sporting, is not against Porto, is not against Benfica, it's not against Braga. Their campeonato is won or a loss or whatever their objectives are for the season in terms of where more or less on the table they want to be. Their campeonato is with their direct opponents, teams that vie for those same positions. So I think that when teams come to Estádio da Luz, getting 1 point is great because the assumed is that that's going to be a guaranteed loss. So right off the bat, Famalicao playing very open, playing like they wanted to dispute the game, right? And look, just taking advantages. They know that both Auschwitz and Muratu are not their natural positions are not fullback. So all the time they were exploring the spaces behind Auschner's back, behind Muratu's back, with speed that they had from that guy Puma. So that was how, and I remember Trubin making a couple saves. We had that shot from Auschner also. Tankstead threw ball that he had one touch too many and he lost the angle. Then he had a shot the minute afterwards. The Di Maria shot also, which the goalkeeper made a save that I don't even know how he saw that ball. He only saw that ball after the ball got past players, and that was a really, really good save. And then Trubin had a couple saves also before the end of the half, but the teams go into the locker room tied, and it could have been a half where we saw goals from both sides because both sides had opportunities to score. Second half, Benfica started well. We had that Otamendi header to open the half. Then we had that Rafa miss in the 59th minute. And then things just got a lot easier for Benfica. 72nd minute, an own goal by the Famalicão player he wasn't even central with the goal. And I thought that he probably felt that if I get my foot on this ball is going to go out. But as it turns out, he didn't get his whole foot on a ball, it just hit his toe, and then ended up angling into the goal. It cleared the path for Benfica, who was struggling at the moment, and I even think that it wasn't their best moment of the game when the own goal happened. Go ahead, Chris. What did you want to say?
Nothing. I just said thank goodness. Keep going.
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah, and then we had, I believe we had the ejection not too long after that, and then the 77th minute, Rafa, off of João Mário feed, was able to get one of those Pizzi classic plays. Comes inside, goes for the far corner on a low shot, and I think that at that time was all she wrote. But up until that time, and for as much as Benfica was struggling, no subs. First substitutions came in the 79th minute. Koksu came in for Tino and Musa came in for Tankstead. And I don't know, man. It's one of those things, again, that we're sitting on our couches and we're going, man, the game needs this. And how does Schmidt and his helpers on the bench not do anything about it? I just don't think. I don't think. And oftentimes I listen to Roger Schmidt and what he says. And look, a lot of times is he's careful with what he says because he doesn't really want to shit on the team. But sometimes he says we were playing well, the team was performing well, we were moving the ball around, and I'm left wondering, what game is he watching? Is it the same one that I am? Because those are not the things that I see.
The only thing more asinine than that was this comment in today's presser, where he said the team is on the right path.
Well, I don't know if
we don't know. We don't know.
Well, the path could be much worse too, right? If we don't get those 2 goals against Sporting, and it could be a worse. There's always a worse path. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll put it that way.
Dave, I'm glad you put a positive spin on it because it was only until Alfredo made that comment about his statement that I jumped in with his asinine comment today. But I was going to try to inject some positivity, Dave. So thank you for doing it for me because I was going to say, look, I really told myself before we went live that I'm going to try my very best not to be negative, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, a win is a win. But damn, Alfredo, as you mentioned, you're sitting there scratching your head, right? I'm not understanding why João Mario is on the pitch, why he's even starting, let alone being on the pitch. And then it's like 70th, 75th minute. So, I mean, look, I don't want to be too negative. I don't want to beat up on the guy too much. But yeah, man, definitely a bunch of head scratchers. I don't understand a lot of what's going on, a lot of the decisions he's been making of late. But this is, his MO. This is who he's been. He did this all last year. But last year, we all came on here and we kind of gave him a pass because we weren't deep. There were very few options at the time, right? Especially when guys were hurt and tired. It wasn't like we were 16, 17, 18 players deep. And now this year, we might not have the quality, but we have quantity. And it seems as if he is not trusting them or he's choosing not to use it here. So, don't understand. But look, at the end of the day, luckily that center back came in and I think he attempted to cortar a bola with the wrong foot, and obviously couldn't get his foot, his whole foot on the ball, and unfortunate deflection for him. I'm pretty sure the rivals are going to accuse him of intentionally scoring and helping out Benfica. How it is, but at the end of the day, look, it was important to give the team a breather. Roger finally made some more changes. We finally scored another goal, and at the end of the day, you're looking at the score box, you see 2-0, like, okay, cool. I didn't watch the game. Must have been comfortable, but. I mean, everything about Benfica this year has been anything but comfortable.
Yeah. No, and look, like you said, a win is a win, and I'll take it, especially in the Portuguese Cup. We also got to look at, out of all the four big teams in Portugal, Braga played Portimonense, which they beat comfortably, and we played Famalicao. Both Porto and Sporting played teams of the fourth division in Portugal. So I mean, we had a hard task.
Has Porto played? I'm sorry, Dave. Has Porto played the first division over the last 3 or 4 years?
No.
Last year they played everybody in second.
Probably just in the finals.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
I think even the semifinals were against.
Last year, the whole side of the bracket was against the butchers and carpenters.
Padeiros.
No, nothing against those professions, by the way.
No,
but yeah, they were all second division. Those guys aren't even pilots, whatever. They're professionals. They're second division.
Yeah.
But yeah, the road is again. Maybe that's the road that Roger Schmidt was talking about. The road to a bunch of. I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
The road to nowhere.
Well, the draw takes place tomorrow. We'll see if we get an easier draw for this upcoming round. But yeah, we're getting first division clubs. They're getting Monte Alegre and. It always seems to
teams that I never heard of
that way. Yeah, exactly. So
we'll
see if we got Lady Luck quotation marks on our side.
Yeah, so 8 teams left in the competition.
16.
16, sorry. 6 teams left in the competition, so 8 games to take place. And right now there's only one team that's not on Portugal's first 2 divisions that are still in the competition, which is Amarante. So it's very possible that Porto will get Amarante, which is basically the outskirts of Porto.
Can we go to FanDuel or DraftKings and bet on it?
Bet on the draw?
They get Amarante?
I don't think I don't think so. I don't think that FanDuel goes that deep.
You should.
In Portugal, maybe. In Portugal, maybe.
That'd be a nice easy bet right there.
Yeah. But anyway, like I said, a win is a win, and we continue our trek to the Portuguese Cup trophy that we haven't won as regularly as we should be winning. So it's quite a shame that Benfica hasn't done better in its competition, but hopefully this will be the year. We always have those same hopes. Dave, some stats on this game so we can move on to the next.
bring him back up. I was bringing up the Grimaldo stats here.
No, don't do it.
but,
Don't do it.
He did
Well,
it.
somebody in the chat was saying that Grimaldo's outscored all of our strikers, and I had to look it up, and it's true.
It's true.
Grimaldo with 7, Musa 4, Cabral 2, Tankstead 2. So, I mean, shout out to Grimaldo. I guess he deserved it, but he's putting in the work and it's paying off. But 8th consecutive season that Benfica's made the round of 16 for the Taça Portugal. And the draw occurs tomorrow at 1 p.m. Portugal time. So nice and early here. What's
8.
What's that for us?
8 a.m.
8?
East Coast.
There we go.
Yeah,
we'll
so maybe
see,
on you
by tomorrow's breakfast.
Yeah, on your way to work, put on the radio or something. Listen to it. Anyway, it is what it is. We move on, and that's all that matters. Coming up next, Champions League match day 5. Internazionale will travel to Lisbon to Estádio da Luz to play, and Chris, Internacional has already said, or Mancini is their coach, right? Mancini?
No, Inzaghi.
Inzaghi. Sorry, I get those confused. He's already said that he's going to rest some players. There's also some players with knocks. I think that Dumfries is probably not going to or didn't travel. I don't know what their travel is, to be honest with you. But Inzaghi has already said that he was going to rest players. Chris, if you're Benfica, you're feeling good about your chances here against Inter, the fact that they're going to rest some players?
I mean, não é assim, nem a esmola metem licença, vamos lá. Nem assim, epá.
It should be an incentive for the team, right? Look at these guys; they're coming with their B squad, and they're confident enough they're going to beat us.
You think that's an incentive? If I was on, I'd be offended.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It should be motivation for Benfica.
Oh, okay.
An incentive, right, to win this game.
But at the same time, I think I'd understand. Like, they qualify, they're through. So, listen, we have to do what we have to do, regardless of who's on the other side. I think hope of continuing and playing in an international competition, they have to take this game very seriously. They're playing at home, and they have to do everything they can to come away with minimum a point, and hope that Sociedad handles their business in the other game and like still has a heartbeat going into the final game, group stage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just depends how they spin it. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm with you. It could be, very disrespectful, but at the same time, I think these guys all understand that it's what it is.
Yeah, I think
they're coming off a game against Juve this past weekend, and then they've got Napoli this upcoming weekend. So they've probably got an eye on the Calcio and the Serie A, where they've already wrapped it up. Though first place is still up for grabs, and I guess they're going to put all their eggs in the basket against Sociedad in the last game. But they definitely got an eye, I guess, looking at Napoli this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, I have a bit of a feeling that that Salzburg may get a positive result against Sociedad, either a tie. I don't think they will win, but they're very capable playing at home in Austria to get a positive result against Sociedad, especially with Sociedad thinking that we could relax a little bit. Maybe we don't go 100% and we still have chances. I think that it's going to be a tricky fixture, man.
I think that Sociedad is looking at this tomorrow
to wrap it up,
understanding that Inter is already announced. I mean, Nuno's saying here on the chat that backup goalie's playing tomorrow, confirmed for Inter. Sociedad might be saying, look, this is our opportunity to stamp our, to get our authority on that first place, because then all they need is a draw. They don't even need a win in the last game against Inter. So, look, I don't follow them as close. Obviously, I don't know what their intentions are, but I think you could spin it both ways, Alfredo. I mean, Salzburg has a competent team. They're not as bad. They're not as weak as some of these other pot 4 teams and other groups.
Yeah,
they can play. They got some good young players who are trying to make a name for themselves, who want to get to these bigger teams. So they're going to try to make an impression against especially the better teams in the group. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off a result. But at the same time, I think Sociedad looks at this and it's an opportunity to wrap up first place. We saw last year, right, with the draw, Benfica coming out in first place and getting Blue Bruges, and then PSG, who they wound up losing because they got who did PSG get again?
Was it Madrid?
Might have
PSG,
been,
Newcastle.
Madrid. Benfica got Madrid.
No. Last year.
Last year.
No, Benfica got Madrid, but then remember they had to redraw.
That was two seasons.
Was it two? No, last season.
No, it was 2 seasons. That's
I don't know.
Yeah, and Real Sociedad doesn't necessarily have a tough match over the weekend. They play Osasuna on Sunday, so they don't really have or actually on Saturday.
PSG got
second.
Bayern last year as a result of coming second.
The first time the draw came out, Benfica got Real Madrid. That was last year. Pretty sure.
No, that was
2 years ago
during
I
the
think.
COVID years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was 2 years ago, I think. But the one that they reversed, right?
yeah.
They reversed it.
We reversed it. We ended up getting Ajax and then going to play Liverpool afterwards.
Yes, my bad.
Yeah,
yes.
everybody knows that a positive result or Benfica has to match whatever. At worst, Benfica has to match whatever result Salzburg gets in order to go into the last fixture and have a chance on the head-to-head. But we're always with the calculator in hand trying to do things. But I think that this is a perfect opportunity for Benfica to have some redemption in front of their fans. What most likely will be a packed Estádio da Luz. I think that this team needs to get a win for the fans, and it's a shame, really, And as a Benfiquista, I'm embarrassed of Benfica's campaign this Champions League, just like I was a few seasons ago when we had 0 points also. But this is not the Benfica that I know, and I know that things happen. We were unlucky with Salzburg. We gave up a goal early. We had a penalty. We had a red card. The game just got out of hand. They also see that too strong. Inter too strong. But I think that the odds are more in our favor against Inter tomorrow than they were any other time.
I'm glad you brought that up about being embarrassed about this campaign so far this season, because I know a lot of people, especially the Freddies in the chat, some of them are not going to like what I'm going to say now, but I've seen a lot of people on social media celebrating Barcelona's victory today against our rivals, Porto. And look, get me wrong, I'm happy my boy João Félix scored a game-winning goal against Porto. I'm happy anytime Porto loses, but it looks kind of idiotic that here we are making fun of them, and they're at 9 points. If they win next week, they advance, and we're not going through in the competition. So sometimes we have to remember where we stand before we laugh at others.
Yeah.
Just wanted to. I'd gladly switch places with them. Losing to Barcelona today and having to play Shakhtar next week or whatever, next week or the week after, whenever the hell they play.
Yeah.
To see if we get through to the next round. So I'll switch places with them.
Yeah. Look, I think that it's definitely a reason for joy, but keep that joy to yourself, man. Don't go on social media and boast, because that shit usually has a way to come back at you. Was I happy? Yeah, absolutely. I think I already saw somebody on the chat say, Aussie Benfiquista, João Félix. Somebody had said, I think it was awesome. Everybody's happy that João Félix and Abola Cadeira says, anyone else enjoy João and João scoring against Porto today? Yeah. I think that we all are. But certainly it's not something that we like to boast. At least I don't. I don't like to boast publicly. Because like I said, the one who laughs last laughs best. Right? That's how it goes, Christina. But yeah, it's going to be a tricky fixture for Benfica, but I think now is the time. If you need to do something and really give the fans some joy and give the fans some confidence that we could at least stay in Europe, albeit through the Europa League, I think that you have to do something. You have to do something because what you've done so far is not acceptable for a club like Benfica, for fans, for the dedicated, loyal fans that travel thousands of kilometers to watch this Benfica team. I think you need to do something here. This is the opportunity where you need to do this, and I think that Roger Schmidt has to pass on that message to the team. So far, look, things haven't gone our way. We're not going to make the knockout stages. Let's put it all behind us. Let's start fresh here. Our focus needs to be on staying in Europe. If that indeed is the focus, which I believe internally that is the focus, it should be the focus for Benfica fans, right? I think that any Benfica fan would want the team to remain in Europe. Cristiano and I have already voiced our concerns in terms of the quality of this team and how detrimental continuing in Europe could be for our title aspirations. So, there's an argument in that aspect. But look, as a Benfiquista, I always want the Benfica to win. I always want Benfica to succeed and to go far in competitions. And the competitions are there for us to play them and to win them and to be competitive in them. So I think that now is the time. Dave, you got any stats on this game, or can we move on to next one?
Let's move on. I don't have anything on
okay.
This game.
It's better that you don't.
Yeah,
it's better
we're
that
beating a dead horse. At
yeah,
this,
it's
this
better
point.
than you don't. Benfica's next domestic game is going to be on Sunday, 6 p.m. local against Moreirense. And Moreirense has been doing quite well. Dave, what's Moreirense up to this week? This season.
They're having a great season from their standards. Just like you said, promoted back up. Currently in 5th with 20 points from 6 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses this season. They've got the third best defensive record with only conceding 10 goals through their first 11 matches. And they're coming in on a 3-game winning streak and winning 4 out of their last 5 league matches.
Yeah.
It'll be what seems to be a well-organized club here with and always difficult to play against them too. Historically, 23 wins, 7 draws, 2 losses, but the last 5 only 2 wins and 3 draws against them.
Yeah, the past couple games between both teams, the most recent couple games, and one was for the Taça da Cerveja, and another one was for the League of 21-22, if I'm not mistaken. Both ended in ties for Benfica. Like Dave said, Moreirense is in 5th. They don't give up a lot of goals, but they also don't score a lot of goals. So this could be an extremely tricky situation for Benfica. They have Moreirense have only lost to Porto Braga and Sporting in domestically, which is, like I said, assumed losses. And then they lost to Paredes in the Portuguese Cup, which was a Tomba Gigante situation. But I'm thinking it's going to be another tough game. Another tough game for Benfica in a field that's usually tough for Benfica. And understanding how one-dimensional this Benfica team has been with it seems that all of our game is through the middle. We don't stretch out the game. We don't open up wide. We don't have backs that will go up on the fields up and down to stretch the field and create mismatches in the final third. I think that this is going to be another predictable game for Benfica. I'm not anticipating Kokshu to start. I think he's going to repeat the same lineup that he played against Famalicao. But this is going to be a tough game for Benfica. And anyone out there that's thinking this is going to be a walk in the park, I think that you're wrong. Wrong. Cristiano, what do you think? What is it even worth it to ask you what your thoughts are and what your expectations are for this game?
Inter ou Moreirense?
Moreirense, pá, já passamos, pá. Acorda, caralho.
I was reading that. The game's where? On the road?
Yeah.
On the road.
Moreira Cónegos.
Yep.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Saw Benfiquistas fighting each other. Yeah, like you said, Alfredo, it's always a difficult pitch for Benfica to play in. They're going to be compact. They're going to make things difficult. But at the same time, man, look, Benfica just had a tremendous comeback in their last league game. One of those miracle, fall from the sky wins and never give up wins. And if this team's not motivated by that, and by wanting to pose a serious threat in the Campeonato Português, not much I could say, man. I mean, these guys need to start playing football. They need to start playing up to expectations. Some of these guys are making a lot of money. Some of these guys are brought in for a lot of money, and at some point, this team needs to start clicking. Roger Schmidt has to start, has to get these guys on the same page. He has to get the best out of these guys as he did last year at the beginning of the season with everybody on the same page and everybody playing great football. I think it's a lot easier said than done. I don't think it's going to be that easy to accomplish, but at the same time, I keep saying it. This is a dream job. This is what you get paid to do, man. And if you don't have any pride in you to want to go and win these games, and at the bare minimum, turn the season around. I understand you're still in first place, as they've said, it could be a lot worse. There's some positives here, but Benfica has to turn this negativity. They have to turn this page into a positive, and what better chance than your next opportunity, right? And that's the way I look at all these games. I think Benfica is favored going to this game. I don't care about their current situation, regardless win or lose tomorrow against Inter Milan. They're still favored to beat the likes of the Moreirenses of this world. I think Benfica is has the obligation to beat every team in the Portuguese league. And so starts now, man. Let's turn this thing around. Let's score some goals. Let's bring some positivity into this locker room, because we know what confidence does to a football player.
Yep.
It really, converts your season. It turns it upside down. And maybe these guys just get on a winning path. Hugo tells me all the time that Benfica has a team to mount a serious competition in the Europa League. They're materia prima. We'll see. I mean, on paper, they do, but none of these guys have performed up to that level. You mentioned before you expect Koksu to play.
Not to start.
To start. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Inter. I was confused. I was just answering.
I think that he will get some minutes versus Inter, but I don't think he will start. I think Roger Schmidt has to figure out how he's going to deploy Kokshu. As he said, 4-3-3. As he said in a press conference today, he likes what Tino and Nevush bring to the team. He also feels that the current setup has brought some solidity to the team in terms of how they were exposing themselves earlier in the season. So I think, I don't know. I'm the biggest question continues to be, where is he going to deploy Kokshu? I think, Cristiano, we already said
it's João Mario.
It's João Mario takes out Rafa to the
and
left.
Go to a 4-3-3 with double pivot and let him play in front like a triangle. He plays ahead of those.
Yep. And look, I think we saw Kokshu for 20 minutes against Famalicao, and look, the guy has talent, he has technique, he could do the passing. Saw passes from him. Look, he's a guy that he's just not your typical player. Has he met his potential yet at Benfica? Everything that we were waiting for? No. But he's a guy that we know that the potential is there. I think that he just needs to be deployed in the right position. And I think that when he does, he will be a game changer for Benfica. At least I hope.
I think so too. I think he's got the skill and he's got the ability to be a game changer. I do. I mean, obviously, when I say game changer, don't come at me. Tell me he's no, Zinga master, Ronaldinho. No, I'm not talking about a game changer in that manner. But he has the ability to control the pace and style of play of Benfica. He has the ability to spring our wingers and our strikers. He has the ability to feed these guys, make the thread the needle, make the nice, beautiful pass. He has that ability in him. He has the ability to score a goal himself. I just don't think he's played anywhere near what we expected. I don't think he's played anywhere near his capabilities. And I think a lot of that has to do because with the fact that he's tarquado. He's playing too deep. as opposed to playing a little bit further up the pitch. I know Hugo called me today or yesterday, and he was like, "Oh, I read an interview from the coach, from Koksu's coach, and he's no 10, so he can't play the second striker. He's an 8. He's a up. The point is, I don't care where you play him. I think he's playing too deep. I think he needs to be a little bit more involved on the offensive side of things. He's too worried about getting back defensively, and I think everybody nowadays is so worried about the defensive side of the game that they forget that football is a game that you get results from scoring goals. And everybody just wants to defend. Takes all the fun out of the game. The games are boring. There's no action. Everybody's just running around like a bunch of robots. No one's taking anyone on.
Chris, you sound like a typical American, bro.
Bro, that's what it's becoming. What it's becoming.
Soccer is boring.
Barely see a moment of brilliance, bro. It's just like now it's, get the ball, pass the ball, get into space. Get the ball, pass the ball, get into space. Like,
I understand what you're saying.
I'd say it takes no skill. I like to see the beautiful game.
I understand. Yeah, I'm going to get it. Diogo Reis just asked about the press conference controversy, and I guess
Diogo loves. He's always trying to stir things up.
Yeah, he's a fucking instigator. So just to give you guys some context, and for you guys that haven't really been following, so after the press conference after the Sporting game, one of the, and I think it was I forget who it was, but one of the journalists present asked Roger Schmidt if he thought that the result was better than the performance. A perfectly valid question that gets asked all the time, right? So nothing unnatural there. What was unnatural was Roger Schmidt's response. Roger Schmidt said, "Well, what do you think? Are you a Sporting fan or are you a Porto fan to think that we didn't deserve to win the game?" That was his response, right? And Benfica defended Roger Schmidt a few days later by saying that there is this plot and this Kabbalah against Roger Schmidt by the media, and we're fed up and we got to defend them, blah 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 blah. Fast forward to the pre Famalicao press conference. BTV reporter always goes first, especially on games that will be televised by BTV, but they always go first. So, girl asks a question about the game in English. Roger Schmidt responds. The next 3 questions were asked in Portuguese. So there was a premeditated act by the journalists to ask questions in Portuguese, and I think that I could see both sides, right? Lemos, who is Benfica's press officer, I think he's more than that now, but he said, "Are you guys going to be asking questions in Portuguese? Because we don't have a translator. We only have translators on Champions League games, so I can't be translating for you guys." All I know is that the next 3 questions were made in Portuguese, and then Lemos got really irritated, and the last question was in English. And I could see both sides, right? Because Roger's been here for 2 years, and he really hasn't made an effort to learn Portuguese, right? He's in Portugal, right? And a lot of coaches make an effort to be able to communicate in the native tongue. I get that. You're in Portugal. Why should the media cater to you? So that was one of the angles, but obviously the journalists felt that there was an attack on one of their colleagues, and as a result, they decided to take this action. Fast forward to the post-game presser against Famalicao. Roger Schmidt spoke to Sport TV in a flash interview. He canceled the presser after the game. And the reason by Benfica was stated that we did not have enough time to prepare a translator to be able to translate live for Roger Schmidt for the post-game conference against Famalicao. So as a result, we canceled the conference. So that's where we're at. Fast forward to today. Today, most of the questions, I would say Benfica BTV was again in English. All the rest of the journalists asked questions in Portuguese. Roger Schmidt, that translator that Benfica provides for you, UCL, blah, 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 blah. So that is the controversy that's happening right now. I don't know what's going to go on, but I think that Benfica needs to be prepared with a translator, right? Because why? And I understand both sides, right? But as a journalist, and you're in my country, why can't I ask you questions in a tongue that I'm most comfortable in, that I'm going to be expressing myself the best to you, right? And let the translator translate that to you as they may. You want to answer in English, I understand English, so on and so forth, right? I don't know what's going to happen with the Moreirense game. I think that at that point, I don't know if it's Moreirense's or Benfica's responsibility to come up with a translator in order to address that issue. But that's the controversy. So it went back and forth, and I think both parts are at fault here. I certainly understand Benfica's stance. I understand the journalist's stance. Cristiano and I had a chance to discuss this, and look, I think the biggest thing is that it was a premeditated act on a journalist's part during that conference, and that's what I felt that they felt that Roger Schmidt had gone after them, so they were going to take a stance with this premeditated act. That is the problem that I have was premeditated, but I certainly understand why they did it. Look, to me, there's no controversy. If the journalists want to ask questions in Portuguese from going forward, Benfica just has to provide a translator. That's it. That's the end of it. I don't think there's much more to discuss. I don't think that Cristiano really has an opinion that's too different from mine. As a matter of fact, when I first brought this up to him, he thought it was a non-issue for him. But after I said, well, but this was premeditated, then he said, well, and then I understand the frustration on Benfica and Roger Schmidt's frustration and Ricardo Lem's frustration, whatever. But to me, it's a non-issue, really. It's just Benfica needs to be prepared with a translator. If the coach doesn't speak Portuguese, and that's what it is. You got to have somebody on staff. It's not that hard to find an English translator. It's not like you going into a really odd language that the translators for that language are hard to find. Translators for English are out there. They're out there and they're available. So I don't know if Cristiano, you wanted to add anything on to that. Dave, you guys wanted to add anything on to that. But to me, there's a bump on the road. But I think that, I also know where the journalists are coming from.
I'll just add 2 cents there. I think there's nothing there, but there's something there as well in terms of the media wanting to create something. I get it from their point that they felt attacked by Roger, but now Roger gave them the spark, and they're just adding fuel to the fire at this point. So, me personally, if I wanted to put even more fuel, if I was Roger, I'd respond in German and put it back on them.
Yeah, now you guys go figure it out.
Yeah, now it's a complete shit show at that point. But I guess we just sit back and watch and go and see what happens. But if I wanted to be a little shit disturber, I'd respond back in German.
Yeah, he could do that. He has the right to do that because that's his native tongue. He has the right to do that, and anyone that asks some questions in Portuguese, just answer it in German. Let them figure out how they're going to translate that. Cristiano, no, nothing to add, right?
I think, look, the guy asked the question the previous week, was he trying to stir the pot as the old said? Yeah, he was. Roger could have taken a high road, didn't have to answer that way. I don't think there's anyone that's innocent in this whole situation. I think it's just a bunch of whole gibberish. I think if you really want to clarify things and make it easy for everybody, Benfica should have a translator. You said in English, it doesn't have to be in English. It could be a German translator that speaks Portuguese. You ask the question, he asks it in German. Now Roger answers in German, and he answers back. I think Benfica hired the foreign coach, have a translator, so he could deal with your national media.
Right.
That's it. Simple. It's that simple. I don't understand why people are making such a big deal about this. And the media antagonizes. Yes, that's what the media does. The media's there to ask questions. The media wants a reaction out of you. That's what they get paid for.
And yeah, I get that antagonizing, right? Because out of the 5 questions that were asked, only 2 pertain to the game. Everything else was just filler. Shit that just to stir the pot. Let me just read some comments here before we go. Jason Gaidola says, as someone who is a journalist, the media shouldn't have acted that way. It's their job to deliver stories. Roger Schmidt doesn't look if he doesn't have to answer it.
I mean, look, Jason, hold on, Alfredo, real quick.
The heart was in a way I can.
Oh, I come from that background, right?
Yeah.
Necessarily have a degree in journalism, but I come from done that role many. And what Jason is saying, he's technically correct. But what Jason is describing is the old school media. Fortunately, that's just not the way things are nowadays. He's right. A professional journalist is there to do a job and to deliver the story and tell the story, not to be part of the story. He's 100% correct. But today's media is changing. Nowadays, anybody with a phone, with a camera, with a mic on it, with a credential, can become a reporter. And so people want to make names for themselves. People want to get attention. And at the same time, due to the fact that there is a lot more competition nowadays for content and for that story, people have to create content. They have to ask the ordinary question. They have to ask, the question out of the box in order to get a reaction to fill whatever they need to fill by their deadline, by that night. So Jason is correct. But I think Jason is a nice guy. That's old school. That's the definition of a journalist. That's exactly what he described. But we're in 2023, and we all know things aren't the same. So
regular stories don't sell papers. You want the controversy. You want shit that's going to stir the pot.
Clickbait. Absolutely.
Rui Souza Ferreira says, translation for German, it should be. Yeah. Diogo Reis, I don't think the tone and context from that report asking about performance versus result was innocent. Guy was stirring the pot. And if I'm Schmidt, I respond only in German for the rest of the season. Chico Marcelino says it's the journalist's problem if they don't want any answers to their questions. How did the guys feel, and Chico, just getting up on some other comments, I feel that Chico Marcelino says, I feel that the momentum that could have come with the Derby win was lost with the international break. That is always
in reference to what I said, that Benfica has got momentum now after a tremendous comeback victory. Chico mentioned, and obviously it's the point. But Chico mentioned, it's the international break kind of put a damper into that.
Yeah.
But they need to get it back up, and Roger Schmidt has to get these. That's stick by with it.
Yeah. Abola Caderin says, thoughts on the new proposed sin bins rule. Players punished for dissent would temporarily removed from a match for 10 minutes. I could see the Portuguese league game being 7-on-7. Don't. Yeah, to me, it's just the way I feel. Don't ruin the game.
I mean, it's bad enough that they're extending VAR now to throw-ins, corners. Yeah, I mean, it's like they don't want the game to end as is.
Look, I think the biggest thing goes, I think the league, I think the referees, they all have to change the culture of each one of the leagues because each league is different. The game style and the way the referees interact with players and the way the referees approach games and the way players approach games. And we had the interview with Bernardo Silva in which he said the Portuguese league, if, player goes down, you touch him, player goes down, it's a foul. But a lot of that comes from the referees that allow it. Once England has always been extremely I don't know if forgiving is the right word, right? But they've always been very serious. Passive is the word that you'd use?
Well, I thought you were going to say in terms of contact.
No, I think that the referees allow shit to go on. They don't fall for the little theatrical simulations. And I think that they call the hard fouls when they need to call them. And sometimes there's fouls that there's contact. Football is a contact sport. Sometimes there's contact, but there are two players that are legally going for the ball. It's just a little bit more force than usual. If the contact is legal, there's no reason why she be stop and play. It's like the game against Famalicao. How many times did the referee stop the play when Benfica had just been fouled, but they also had the advantage in possession, and the referee just brought it back? It's a culture thing, folks. The league has to do something about it. The referee committee has to do something about it. And until we change that culture, the quality, the active time that you play is not going to get any better. I'm sorry to say.
It's funny. It's funny you see Porto in the Champions League. You don't see him with
No,
because they know they won't play with it. Same thing with Benfica and Sporting. I say Porto, say Benfica, Sporting. They don't act like immature, spoiled children in Champions League because they know they're not going to get away with that. They know Portuguese league. They want controversy. This is what sells. We all talk trash about this nonsense, but we don't turn away.
yeah, and look,
Everybody talks about Sam TV, but they're the most watched TV channel in Portugal.
Right.
Everybody's watching. It's like that car crash that nobody wants to.
That's the culture that we've created. The culture of peixeirada, it's just not good. It's not good for football in Portugal. And look, Portugal is not a big country. The league is not very well known, but there's a lot of talent that comes out of Portugal. And it should be a league that people would watch as a secondary league. But when you watch some of these games, first of all, they're not well attended, unless it's Sporting Porto or Benfica or Braga. The rest of the teams, they pull in 1,200 people, 2,000 people, whatever, But as an outsider, if I'm watching Portuguese football and I'm watching even one of the big clubs, right, and I see this whistle after whistle, guys on the ground, got theatrical simulations, is this something I really want to spend my time watching? No. So if the league wants to do something about attracting the league and the rights to the league to other markets, which it's at an all-time low currently. There's no TV contract for England. I don't think there's a TV contract in Spain. There's no TV contract in France, and it's a shame because the product that we currently have, it sucks for a spectator. And as a spectator and as a neutral, I wouldn't want to watch a league where guys are constantly on the ground and constantly whistles to stop the game and there's no flow, there's no entertainment, there's no back and forth. So, but it has to start with the referees and it has to start with the league. All right, I'll get off my soapbox. We're going to say goodbye. Thank you, all of you guys. Cristiano, do you have anything else to add or can we go? What about you, Dave?
All good on my end.
All right. We want to thank all the Freddies. I know that Chico said that he played for Paredes. Good for you, Chico.
As canelas e estava impressionado agora Paredes. Canelas
Yeah, and Diogo Reis says this Conceição and Martinez. I'm not going to get into that because if Conceição did what Roger Schmidt did, everybody would laugh it off. It's just Conceição being Conceição. But when it was Roger Schmidt, there's a double standard. But anyway.
It's to stir up the pot, bro.
Yeah, stir up the pot. That's all we got. Thank you, all of you guys that took the time to tune in to us, whether you're watching this live on YouTube or whether you're going to download the podcast and then listen to it a little later. Thank you for turning to us for your information and your entertainment. We certainly appreciate it. All the guys that were in the chat active, appreciate you all. I know that Cristiano loves you all, and you guys are all going to be on Cristiano's Christmas list.
Yes, sir. Love you guys. Sweet.
See you, everybody.
Carrega.
Take care.